I'm talking perfection in sport with a man who had to be perfect each time he sat down in front of a chessboard. I'm not off the mark when I say I'm speaking to the great Garry Kasparov, the greatest chess player of all time. It's a heavy mantle to bear. You know, you look at great sports persons who've defined their sport: Michael Jordan, Pele, Roger Federer, Michael Schumacher. But you had a run which far greater than what they had, because you dominated your sport almost all your playing career. It must have been pretty tough.
Yes, I'm quite proud of my chess accomplishments. And I think the reason I managed to stay on top for so long is that from my early days, thanks to my mother, I looked at every game not just an opportunity to win and to prove my superiority over my opponents, but also an opportunity to find something new, to make the difference. Which means that even if you are winning, if you are number one, if you are on the top, there's always a challenge to come up with new ideas, better ideas. And I used to say that, you know, if you're competing with your own excellence, you will never be short of opponents. So for me, even at the end of my career, every game was a chance to look for new horizons, just to expand our knowledge of the game. And I think that's the best advice for anyone who wants to stay as long as possible on top of his or her professional field.
Okay, but chess is a very mental sport, but what you did was dominated to such an extent that, you know, one wonders, what were you telling yourself when you woke up every day? One day you could have woken up and said, like Mo Farah said, you know, I'm not enjoying it anymore. But you had this reign for, what, close to 20 years, 15, 20 years, and that's, to stay at the top level in your sport for that long is genius.
No, but again, I wanted just to make improvements. So it's every game offers you an opportunity to actually get better next day. And I used to learn from not only from my own losses, that were few, but also from games I won, because I knew that even the games you won, that resulted as your opponents making the last mistake. So that's why there were no perfect games. There was no game that you won just because you played perfectly. It's typically, you know, you made maybe a few mistakes or inaccuracies, but opponent was the last one to falter. So it's very important actually to keep learning from each game you played, and you try to be better and better. So it's like, you know, it's a never-ending quest for perfection. And as long as you have the drive to actually to continue this journey, so you can play. And at one point I just realized, okay, I was already 40, so it was time actually to look for other challenges.
Okay. When I was growing up, my years when came to chess was about Karpov and Kasparov. He was your toughest opponent, you would think?
Look, we played 5 World Championship matches, not counting, you know, many games that we played in top competitions. I doubt very much that you can find anything even close in tension and in length in any other sport. So obviously that was the toughest, and I could say that the modern chess is very much based on the experience that was allocated during our matches with Karpov from 1984 to 1990. So it's I can say that we created very much the foundation of modern chess, and most of the players who are on the top today, some of them, like Magnus, were born, you know, at the very end of our matches. Some of them even after we stopped playing World Championship matches against each other. But they all learn from these matches, and I think the fact that it was so tough for both of us, and we had different playing styles. So Karpov, you know, more, you know, strategic, you know, you could call icy players, and I was more on the fire side. Yeah, but it helped to create the knowledge that could withstand the time.
Okay, Vishy Anand is someone who's made chess a hugely popular sport in India, 5-time world champion. What would you think is Vishy's legacy?
Look, it's you just said world champion. I mean, that's the legacy. There are only 16 world champions in the long history of the world championship title. We have the longest unbroken record in history of any sport. Since 1886, we have official world champions, and there are only 16. The fact is that, you know, for nearly 150 years, you know, you could be one of the 16 best players in history. It stands for itself.
Okay, big match coming up, Magnus versus Caruana. I won't ask you the predictable question. I would ask you, if Garry Kasparov had to beat Magnus Carlsen, how would you beat him?
Look, I mean, we played with Magnus when he was just in the very beginning of his illustrious career, and I was at the very end. So we played only Rapid and Blitz. So I actually managed to beat him narrowly, but it's 2004. I mean, his performance lately was absolutely phenomenal, and I think he's still a favorite in the match, but it's getting tougher and tougher for Magnus to stay on top because, I mean, psychologically he's under such a pressure. I mean, I know I was, you know, in the same situation where you are dominating the game. You are the best for so many years. You won so many tournaments and the matches, and everybody, even those who like you, they want you to lose and just to see a new face, and it creates some sort of aura around the match that it's very hard to overcome. So it's more like for Magnus to compete against his own psychological challenges. I think he's a slight favorite because I think he, you know, is probably. If you look at purely at chess performance, I think he's probably slightly better than Fabiano. But Fabiano is determined, and again, he has this tailwind. So just the public actually rallying behind him because, again, everybody wants to see sensation. Everybody wants to see a new face. Everybody wants to see sort of the kind of a revolution in the given sport. So it's a tough challenge for Magnus. Yeah. So and I expect a very interesting match. And first of all, it will be very into a psychological duel.